So here's a hard question for you. I think it's a hard question. I don't know. How do you think about your role as a leader here in the United States on issues around Asian Americans, Black Lives Matter, voting rights, all of that, and whether and how you can speak out about, for example, human rights abuses in China? It's a hard one, I know.
You have to be specific on what human rights abuse you're talking about, because the China that I see, the large number of the population, I'm talking about 80–90% of the population, are very, very happy. The economy is expanding, right? So I like you to be more specific on that.
Well, let me just ask you in this way, though. There are a lot of American business leaders today that are being pushed by their employees, by consumers, to say, look, we're taking a stand here on voting rights, for example, in the United States. You're also doing business in China. You should be consistent, right? Even Marco Rubio and others were actually criticizing American companies for what he was arguing was a hypocrisy. And when you talk to a lot of American business leaders, they say, look, I can speak out here, but I know that I'm not in a position to speak out there, because if I speak out there, it's not that my hand is going to get slapped, it's that my business is going to be damaged by the government because I'm just not allowed to do it.
Yeah, I think American company CEOs understand this very well. The bottom line is you have to look at the results. Are people happy? When I look at China, the average citizen is very hopeful about the future. They're happy about where they are. And, you know, I think that's really...
But you read the same headlines that I do about some of the human rights issues, no?
I live in Hong Kong, right? So everybody is worried. I still think it's kind of funny that people call me up, you know, on these big Zoom calls and say, Joe, where are you? And I say, I'm in Hong Kong. And they say, oh, are you okay? Right? So if you put yourself in the Chinese people's mindset, you know, if you're a Chinese citizen, I look at this history. I want to make sure that we prevent foreign powers from carving up our territories. I think Hong Kong ought to be seen in that context. You know, I think there's a lot of criticism of, you know, the democratic freedoms or freedoms of speech is being suppressed. But overall, since they instituted the national security law, everything is now stabilized. In 2019, when people were protesting on the streets, I was actually afraid to walk onto the street. You know why? Because I speak Mandarin. And they were targeting every person that spoke Mandarin because they would assume that you come from the mainland. You know, well, I actually grew up in Taiwan, where also, you know, they speak Mandarin there. And so I actually felt physically threatened with these protesters, right? So I think now we have more stability. Hong Kong is going to be fine. You know why? Because it's a free market economy.